The Jeffrey Epstein case is a story of immense wealth, unimaginable abuse, and powerful connections. It's a tale of a man who evaded justice for decades while amassing a web of influence that extended into some of the highest echelons of society. Yet, the story didn't end with Epstein's arrest or even his death. It opened the floodgates to questions about accountability, corruption, and the victims who continue to seek justice. In this video, we'll explore Jeffrey Epstein's rise, his criminal enterprises, the investigations that uncovered his crimes, and the fallout that continues to shape public discourse. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1953. Despite humble beginnings, he quickly found ways to climb the social and financial ladders of American society. Epstein attended the prestigious Dalton School, where he later taught mathematics, despite lacking a college degree. It was during this time that he began building connections with influential figures. Epstein transitioned to a career in finance, working for Bear Stearns before starting his own firm. Though the specifics of his financial dealings remain opaque, he cultivated an image as a mysterious and highly successful financier. His wealth allowed him to purchase luxurious properties, including his infamous Manhattan townhouse, a private island in the Caribbean, and a ranch in New Mexico. More importantly, Epstein forged relationships with some of the most powerful individuals in the world: politicians, business tycoons, and celebrities. Figures such as Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Prince Andrew were among his associates, though the nature of their relationships with Epstein varies. These connections would later become a focal point of public scrutiny. While Epstein presented himself as a sophisticated businessman and philanthropist, a far darker reality lay beneath the surface. Epstein was accused of running a vast network of sexual abuse and trafficking, targeting vulnerable young women and underage girls. His operations were insidious. Epstein allegedly lured girls with promises of money, opportunities, or mentorship. Once ensnared, they were subjected to sexual abuse and coerced into recruiting other victims, a pyramid of exploitation that spanned years. His homes in Palm Beach, Manhattan, and his private island, dubbed Pedophile Island by some, were allegedly used as locations for these crimes. Witnesses described a pattern of systematic grooming, manipulation, and abuse, often involving powerful associates of Epstein. In 2005, police in Palm Beach, Florida, began investigating Epstein after a report from a concerned parent. This led to dozens of victims coming forward with allegations. Yet, despite the evidence, Epstein struck a plea deal in 2008 that allowed him to serve just 13 months in a private wing of a county jail, with work release privileges. This deal, brokered by then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, was widely criticized as a miscarriage of justice and a display of Epstein's influence. For years, Epstein operated with near impunity. But in July 2019, he was arrested by federal authorities on charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. This time, prosecutors seemed determined to bring him to justice. The arrest came as a shock to many. Epstein was denied bail and held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. Evidence seized from his properties included incriminating documents, videos, and photographs, potentially implicating numerous high-profile individuals. But just weeks later, on August 10, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell. His death was ruled a suicide by hanging, but it immediately sparked controversy. The circumstances were suspicious. Security cameras outside his cell were reportedly malfunctioning, and guards assigned to check on him were found to have falsified records. Epstein's death fueled widespread speculation, with many believing he was silenced to protect others. The phrase "Epstein didn't kill himself" became a cultural phenomenon, reflecting public distrust in the official narrative. Whatever the truth, Epstein's death left many questions unanswered and robbed his victims of the chance to see him face justice in court. After Epstein's death, attention turned to Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime confidant and alleged accomplice. Maxwell was accused of recruiting and grooming young girls for Epstein, playing a central role in his criminal enterprise. In July 2020, Maxwell was arrested and charged with multiple counts related to sex trafficking and conspiracy. Her trial in late 2021 brought renewed focus to the case, as victims testified about her role in facilitating Epstein's abuse. In December 2021, Maxwell was convicted on 5 counts, including sex trafficking of a minor, and was later sentenced to 20 years in prison. Beyond Maxwell, questions remain about others who may have been complicit. Epstein's social circle included numerous powerful individuals, and documents released in court proceedings hinted at connections that have yet to be fully explored. Many victims and advocates continue to call for further investigations into Epstein's associates. The fallout from the Epstein case has been far-reaching. It has exposed systemic failures in law enforcement, the judicial system, and the broader culture of accountability for the wealthy and powerful. The controversial 2008 plea deal remains a glaring example of how Epstein was able to manipulate the justice system. Alexander Acosta, who negotiated the deal, resigned from his position as U.S. Secretary of Labor after renewed scrutiny of his role. The victims, meanwhile, continue to seek justice. Many have filed lawsuits against Epstein's estate, and Maxwell, as well as others they allege were involved. For these survivors, the fight for accountability is ongoing, and their courage in coming forward has inspired calls for greater protections for victims of abuse and trafficking. The case has also raised broader questions about the connections Epstein cultivated. Were his relationships with powerful figures purely social, or was there more to them? Was Epstein using his network for leverage, as some documents suggest? And why has so much about his financial dealings and personal life remained opaque? The Jeffrey Epstein case is a tragic and complex story that continues to reverberate. It has brought attention to the pervasive issue of sexual abuse and trafficking, while also highlighting the challenges of holding the wealthy and powerful accountable. For the victims, Epstein's death was not the end of their journey for justice. Their stories, courage, and persistence have ensured that his crimes will not be forgotten. As investigations into Epstein's network continue, the hope remains that the full truth will one day be uncovered. Thank you for joining me in exploring this important and troubling chapter of modern history. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime and the pursuit of justice.